Heidi Dove is the founder of Village to Village. It's a Christian nonprofit organization that helps communities in need become self-sufficient.
A lot of the immigrants that come here had amazing jobs. They went to college, they were doctors, they were nurses, and they come here and you have to start over. They're not ignorant people. They are very smart people, but they have lost everything.
Now, this kind of work is extremely important and near and dear to my heart because my parents came to this country as refugees with nothing. And if it wasn't for people like Heidi, then they wouldn't be able to get on their feet.
You know, most of us have nice houses, and if you can imagine losing that and having to start over in low-income housing, you can't afford to get blankets for your bed. You can't afford a bed. You can't, that is what they are facing.
In this episode, I'm going to be sitting down with Alina, Gentry, and Heidi, and we're going to be talking about the work that Village to Village does. We're going to talk about how they support refugees, why Heidi is taking a step back, and how you can support the mission. I hope you stay to the end and are moved by this episode of the Friendly City podcast.
I realized there were some things going on, and last week, we found out that I have.
Okay. Can you tell me what Village to Village is?
Yeah,
just succinctly?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So basically, we exist to bring self-sufficiency, whether that is to local refugees or whether that is to villages around the world. That's what we want to do, is build relationships and get to the point that they are self-sufficient and they don't need our help. So locally, we fell on refugees because we knew that they were needing to come here and get self-sufficient. We knew that that was going to be the best thing for them. And we talked to Church World Service. That was our initial contact. And so that's how the ministry started here, is through that conversation of, we feel like refugees is where God would have us to work. And so there's a lot of great other things in Harrisonburg. And we get a lot of people that are like, why aren't you helping the homeless? And why aren't you helping? Because there's other organizations that help those people. We have to focus on one thing. If we're going to do it well, we need to focus on one thing. And so refugees is our one thing.
What kind of moved your heart to refugees? Was it just growing up, going on trips?
I was never around refugees growing up.
Oh, really?
Until we moved. My dad was a pastor, so we lived in Florida. We didn't move here until I was in 7th grade. But the refugee population really did not explode until, I don't know, probably 10 years later is when really we started seeing people come in. One of my greatest blessings is that both of my kids went to Harrisonburg High School, because it really got them into understanding the refugee population and realizing that, we are blessed to live in an area where there's 50 different languages spoken, and there's so many, different people. And so I think ever since they've been in high school, it's kind of just been, this is pretty amazing that we're able to really, we don't have to leave our community to help the nations because they're here.
We're kind of in a unique place where we just have everyone congregate here.
Mhm.
And like personally, my sister and I, we're parents of refugees, and it's just been.
I think you meant to say children of
Oh,
refugees.
sorry. Our parents are refugees. We're children of refugees. But we got to grow up in this area where there is a really large community of people like us and other people from different communities. But it really is a special place. Like Harrisonburg is one of the few places where you have so many different people gather together. So it's cool that you have this heart to help other communities and nations, and you don't even have to go that far away from home to do that.
I know you had mentioned that in the past year you had seen so many more opportunities to share Jesus. Could you expand a little bit on that?
Sure. Initially, the organization that we work with was a government organization. And so we would go in and set up the homes, but we would never be allowed to meet the families. So the families would come in and the home would be set up, and our interaction with them was nothing other than praying over them before they moved into the house. And so we would not exist without them, because really they are the ones that helped us get our feet wet and helped us get started. Because of the elections, not so many refugees have been coming in. And so we knew we needed to talk to some other areas because we knew we were not going to be as busy. So we talked to the school systems.
The experience of helping people but not being able to meet them, what was that like for you? Because
I don't think we didn't know any better because we had never done it. And so to us, we knew it wasn't going to look like our international, things looked. But for us, we felt such a privilege of making their home. We made sure that we had toys for the kids and the beds were made and the dishes were washed. And for us, that was such a sweet experience. And being able to pray over that family, I don't think we thought much about it. We did get one family that sent us a picture, and they sent a note through their liaison and basically said, "We hope that in years to come, we can do what you all have done for us because you welcomed us to the community, and we know that we are wanted, and we are so grateful for that." And so they, in turn, want to be able to do that with other families. But we only got one of those out of 5 years.
How did it feel? Did you get just the one?
Just the one.
How did it feel though?
Just
Did it feel good?
It did. And I wanted to run over to their house and just like hug them. But, the government does have guidelines. And so if we were going to work with them, we had to follow those guidelines. So now that we're working with the school system, we asked some specific questions because we host a refugee camp. And we really want it to be a camp that is intentional about being the hands and feet of Jesus, but also verbally sharing Bible stories and songs and things like that. And the first couple years, we really couldn't because our hands were tied. But now with the government changing over so much, and we don't have a lot of refugees coming in through Church World Service, we're mostly working with school families that are refugees. And we talked to the school about it, and they're like, "Nope, you are welcome to invite those kids to your camp." And, we get to meet them. Normally, every time I make a delivery now, I meet the whole family. And we had never done that before. And that's a game changer, especially for our volunteers, because it's almost like doing a mission trip. If you're not used to that interaction and you go deliver something and they can't speak your language, but they invite you in for tea because they're so grateful that you brought them a couch or, brought them clothes. And, it feels totally different. It's much more rewarding to be able to see them face to face. And we had a delivery. One of our board members delivered a bed yesterday, and they couldn't speak English. The family couldn't speak English. And Vicky, our board member, said they just kept saying, "Thank you, thank you." And, they're here not because necessarily they wanted to leave their families. They're here because they had no other choice. And so to land in a place where they know that people care about them is huge for them.
Yeah. I feel like so much of communication is not verbal too, just like physical. You can still understand a lot from a gesture like that. But does anyone else think it's kind of crazy that another organization, a school, your nonprofit, to meet with people and share Jesus and invite to camps? And isn't that kind of crazy? Or
Yeah, I was definitely, when Heidi told me about that, I was like, wait, what? Really? So that's such a blessing, though, to have that opportunity because, who would have thought? So, what do people misunderstand about immigrants the most?
I think one is they don't realize that a lot of the immigrants that come here had amazing jobs. They went to college, they were doctors, they were nurses, and they come here and you have to start over, basically. And so they're not ignorant people. They are very smart people, but they have lost everything. And so if you can imagine, most of us have nice houses, and if you can imagine losing that and having to start over in low-income housing, you can't afford to get blankets for your bed. You can't afford a bed. You can't, that is what they are facing. And that is, when donations come in, we are so grateful for the community that donates items. But I will say, when you donate items, think about, would you put that in your home? Is that something that we want to represent our community well. And so there's a lot of things that come in that we will not pass on because it doesn't feel good. We want to make sure that we're giving them things that I would give my daughter, or, things that do not make them feel like they are second best.
Do you have any examples of things that people donate that?
I don't know if you want to go there.
I mean, we don't have to go into specifics, but like people will bring like stuff after they have a yard sale and just stuff that like didn't sell. And it's just like used. I mean, we take used toys and stuff, but like broken stuff that we obviously can't use. And like, we don't want to give that to a kid. Like, because a lot of the toys that we get, we kind of save for our village giving project at the end of the year, which is when we pack up a big box and take them like coats and toys and hats. And it's kind of like a Christmas present, but like people don't celebrate. Not everyone celebrates Christmas, so we don't call it that. But, while these kids' schoolmates are getting brand new scooters and stuff, at least we want to give them something nice. We don't want broken toys. So, I mean, the Goodwill trips that are made, I think like that's one thing that people misunderstand, like about donations and stuff. And like, we never want to like say you can't donate, or just like, I don't know. It's kind of like a gray line, because we don't want to offend people, because some people might think like, well, this is all I have. Well, that's like, we are very grateful for that. But like, would you want to keep this for yourself, or like,
Do you want Gentry to tell you the most interesting thing that somebody donated?
Absolutely.
So we got like I don't think you can air this, because what if that person listens to this?
I don't think they knew. I don't think they
Okay.
knew.
Well,
what it
anyways,
was.
I won't say what. Okay, you can air it, because I won't say what came in it. But there's a container of some things that like are useful. So I was like, this is great. Like, and I was just kind of like going through each one, and then I came upon a little box. I was like, what is this? And I think it had like a C on it. Or opened it, baby teeth. Somebody's baby teeth. And it was in my house, because sometimes I take stuff home to go through, and I was like, what is this? Like vampire teeth in a box. And I sent a picture to my mom, and I said, I'm not bringing anything else home. I'm not doing donations at my house anymore. It freaked me out. I mean, that's just one thing. We get weird stuff all the time.
But sometimes, in defense of that, sometimes when people pass,
yeah.
they're just like putting stuff in a box and being like, we're just going to bring it to you. And we sort. We do a lot of sorting. And that's part of our ministry. But you do definitely get some interesting
I mean, it's
things.
fun if, we're there together. We have a good time going through stuff.
But what does the process usually look like? People will donate stuff. You guys will sort through it.
Mhm.
And then how does it get into the people's homes?
So currently we have 2 containers. And so if it is going to be used for a refugee, it gets stored in those containers. We have shelving units and hanging racks, and we have it set up so that you can kind of go shop when we have a family that needs it. And our liaisons, whether it's Church World Service or the school system, or sometimes we will even have churches that call and need things, they fill out a paper and we go shop for that family. And we get it all put in boxes and bags, and either the liaison will come pick those items up, or we'll be able to deliver them directly to the family. And if it's furniture, if it's bigger items like that, a lot of times whoever is delivering it or donating it will take it directly to the family that needs it, which is nice because they get to meet the family. We also have just some great resources. There's a furniture store that is used furniture that will give us anything we need if they have it. So, if we have families that come in and there's no couches that have been delivered, we'll call them. And if they have something, they just let us pick it up and take it to the family. So our community is really good. If we are lacking something, we can usually post, and within a couple days, we'll have that item.
How big is the organization? How many members do you guys have?
Okay, by members, do you mean?
People that are participating and helping.
Heidi and
Okay.
Gentry.
Heidi and Benjamin,
Well,
just two.
That's
We're
our
the-
staff. That's our
This
staff.
is village to village, but we have
But-
people who help.
Yes.
Like we have a board. We have people in the community who like donate stuff, but like
and we have
Heidi and Gentry.
volunteers.
That's village to village.
We probably have 25 volunteers.
yeah.
We also have large groups, like JMU will send groups to come help us. We have 3 youth groups in the summer that come specifically. They're here out of town. They always come help us. So we kind of save big projects for those groups
Mm.
because we can't. There's no way that the two of us can facilitate everything that comes in. So groups are huge. Our own church will send a group once or twice a year over with students, and they will do anything. If it's raking, if it's folding clothes, if it's, and it's good to have that servant's heart. And it gives them a little picture of what these families don't have that we're trying to get into their hands.
Yeah.
So
So, you're on the board, right? Which was news to me. I found out. How did you get involved in Village to Village? How did you find out about them?
Okay, so the first time I found out about Village to Village was when Heidi organized the banquet for Ukraine. I think this was 4 years
a couple
ago.
years ago.
So I saw one of the girls from our church post about it, and I offered to come help set up. And I didn't even know it was you at first. So I came to set up, and I saw you. I'm like, wait, I think I know who that is. So I went up and reintroduced myself, but I realized that Gentry and I went to school together, and you would take me to school sometimes for choir. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I know who that is. So anyways, and I just saw the amazing work you put into that banquet and just your heart for just the refugees who had just come here and lost everything. And I was just really touched by that. And I have a lot of friends who also came from Ukraine recently, and they were always like, oh, Heidi, Heidi, Heidi. They just love you. Everybody loves you.
Everyone knows if
Everybody
if-
knows, yes.
Yeah, if you say like people have asked who I am and I say Heidi's daughter and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Heidi's okay."
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
So you're so loved in our community.
yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you for all that you do. But yeah, that's how I found out. And then Heidi asked me to be in charge of food at a refugee camp last year. So I did that with a friend. And this year, Heidi reached out and asked if I would like to join the board. And I just feel called to share with others what God has given me. And I'm like, my husband and I, we just feel so blessed, just beyond measure. And we just have this desire to bless others in our community. Just because I feel like a lot of times missions are overseas, somewhere far away. And we love to give and help overseas. But I think locally, a lot of times people are missed. And so it was just an honor that you reached out. And I'm just a very recent member, though, maybe 2 weeks. So I'm a newbie. So yeah.
Well, it's really cool that you got involved. One of the things that Holden said to me that really resonated, he was my first guest on here. He was telling me about his church group, and the way that they do small groups is they'll actually pick the people that you live next to in your like neighborhood to be in a small group with, rather than somebody who maybe lives across town. And the reason behind that is it's a lot easier to help the people that you're right next to. You're way more likely to give someone a ride somewhere if they're your neighbor rather than if they live further away. So I really like that idea of helping the people here. It's a lot more doable. What do you think the difference is between refugees that come here and assimilate and get plugged into the community versus the ones who kind of come here and don't find a place to belong and end up leaving?
You can clearly tell within the first month which they are going to be, because the ones that come here and feel like it's a blessing that I have a home, it's a blessing that I have a job, that my kids are in school, they will full force go out and work as hard as they can to make sure that they make it. And, whether that is making sure that they get into English classes and there's so many things that Church World Service and other organizations in our community provide. To be honest, there's no reason for families not to be able to get connected. But I think some families come and it's such a hard transition. And because they were used to living a certain way where they were. And, I think of Afghanistan a lot because they literally just had to leave. Like they just had to leave. Some of them didn't get to tell their families goodbye. And so it was a shock coming here. It was not like a year process like it is for a lot of people. They were just here. And it was very hard for a lot of them to settle in and to really understand this is the new life that I'm going to have. And so part of it is mindset. Part of it is how did you get here and why? But you definitely can see the ones that really are wanting to thrive, are wanting to be part of the community. And um, I think what Village to Village does is we're just a connector. We're just people that are like, we're glad you're here. We can't provide much, but we're going to provide what we can to help you. We had a couple Afghanistan families over Christmas. One of our school liaisons works with Afghanistan families, and and literally all we did is we took this family some coats and a few toys and I think a couple games and some baked goods. And she sent me a message and said they felt like because of what you did that people want them here. And they sent a message back home to their family and they told their family, we're going to be okay because this community wants us. And that's with us giving them coats. I mean, it doesn't take much.
It's so special, especially in this political climate where so many people feel like they're not wanted here. I think that's huge.
And I think he also used to have meals once a month for refugee families. And that's really special as far as connecting them and just bringing into our community.
When Ukraine happened, because Ukrainians are very social, and I'm an introvert too, so all of this is super hard for me, but we felt like we wanted to have a way for them to meet each other and to just have a safe place to come. And so our volunteers would have amazing food. They would cook for, 50 people, and it would just give them a space to come. And we didn't have programming. We provided some games and stuff for the kids, but it was really just a space for them to be together and be able to talk through things and work through things. And
Somebody was telling me recently about, oh man, I can't remember who it is, but if you're watching this and you remember, remind me. They're talking about how they were doing part of the welcoming team at one of the churches, and I think at Crosslink. And in between churches, a lot of times families will the church service is over and they'll just leave. This is you.
I told you that.
This was you. I
There
knew
you
it.
go.
Thank you for reminding me. Well, then you should tell the story.
So, a lot of times, well, especially since COVID, I know, churches wanted to provide a safe environment. So they would kind of try to get the first service out so the second service can come in. And Ukrainians, they want to stay after and talk, and just socialize. Their kids are running, getting lemonade and whatnot, and just kind of a little crazy. So, one of the members of the welcoming team was trying to kind of usher everybody out and kind of like just for safety reasons. And later she had said at a leadership meeting that she felt convicted and she just saw the community and the fellowship, and that just took that in and just was reminded that how churches are meant to have that community, that fellowship, and just a big part of what we were missing. So I thought it was just so cool to see kind of these two cultures coming together and kind of just learning to thrive together. And it's just really awesome to see that in our church. So that was just a really cool thing that I saw.
I think food is one of these things that just really brings people together too. It has a very
Of
unique way,
course.
like across cultures, across everything.
Razia, one of the girls that came from Afghanistan, for some reason, normally I'm not allowed to go into their homes, but they needed another couch. They needed something else that we didn't have in their home initially. So I was able to take it to them, and they were home, and I was able to meet them. And we made that connection, and they shared that, they would never be able to see their parents again. It was she and her sister. And so they invited me over for a meal a couple weeks later. And that meal has connected us for years. And it's just because we had an opportunity to sit down and talk about each other's families. And, it definitely connects you in some way. And it's just a place of fellowship and, you know, loving on each other.
Yeah. I also saw something else today that really stuck out to me. It was about Jesus he didn't have a Messiah complex, even though he was the Messiah. He always had time for people to sit down, to eat, to go to a wedding, he was the least busy person starting a religion or starting a movement. He always made time for people to go to sit down and eat with someone, which is, I think, really special that even though you're helping and doing all the stuff, it can get easy to get caught in the loop of being productive and doing stuff all the time. Or sometimes the most productive thing you can do is just sit down and spend time.
Refugees are the best at slowing down. They have their tea in the afternoon. They're the best. We're terrible at it.
That's very true. I've noticed it's a lot of my Ukrainian friends, always coffee dates, always play dates, always going out to the park for barbecue. And I'm Americanized by now, so I'm like, wow, you guys go out a lot. This is awesome, but like I need some time to adjust.
I think that American culture is so hyper individualized and very fast, go, go. It's so easy to get caught up in all that.
I think that's why I love Moldova is because you slow down because you're going to go have tea and you're going to sit for 3 hours having supper and that's just the way that they do it. And so it feels like a respite from everything when you're there.
Mm-hmm. I feel like about your organization, about Village to Village, how much of what you set out to initially have you been able to accomplish?
I mean, I think on a daily basis, we're doing what we felt God called us to do. Whether it is providing bedding for a family here or whether it is sending funds to make sure that our kids in Moldova are taken care of. I don't know that I have ever felt like we haven't been doing what God's called us to do. And I don't know that I had some big thing in mind. Like, I just don't know. I think our goal is just to make sure that we meet the needs of people as best as we can.
What's been the hardest thing about meeting those needs?
Fundraising.
We talked about this a little bit previously. You said that you hate fundraising.
Least favorite thing to do. I would rather clean my house 100 times. I don't like asking for money.
Why do you think it's difficult for you?
I think I take it personal, and it's not personal. I think what I have to remember is fundraising for Village to Village means meeting needs for the people that we care about. But it feels like I'm asking for money, and I just did a seminar a couple weeks ago, and they said, whatever you are passionate about, that is what you are raising money for. It's not, you have to take the personal part of it out and realize that Village to Village will not exist if you don't fundraise. If people do not give for that purpose, we cease to exist. And so if I look at it from that point of view, it feels a little better, but it's not something I love. It's just hard.
Would you agree with that about her?
I mean, oh my gosh, yeah. She's very she just doesn't like asking for money, and she feels like, she wants to provide something, in return, and I'm like, it's not how it works, But yeah, I mean, I feel it too. It is the hardest thing, and it is the most stressful thing about having a nonprofit is fundraising and getting the money in that we need to like operate and to do all of this. And I think people who donate items, that is essential, but they don't donate money too. So it's like a hard balance because like because they donated all of those items, we don't want to ask for money too. And we are so grateful for both, and even people who can't give money, just like prayer over our nonprofit is huge. So,
And we try really hard. Thank you notes are big for me. Now, granted, they can't read my writing when they get it, but for us, I always want people that donate to understand how appreciative we are of that. And I think the other thing people don't understand when they give, you don't have to have a lot of money to give. We have a family that literally gives $5 a month. Every time that $5 comes in, I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Because they are choosing to do something. It may not be much, but they're choosing to do something. And that something can turn into something bigger. And so we try really hard. That's why we had all the thank you notes at our first board meeting. We just try to make sure that our donors understand we can't do this without you. And we're so grateful for you.
Yeah. I mean, the parallel is just right there. You saw what Jesus can do with 5 loaves. Imagine what he can do with $5.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I got emotional.
Doug and I, we started sponsoring a child when Gentry was, I don't know, maybe 12 or 14. They came to our church and they had all these sponsor kids. And so we told the kids they could pick out a sponsor child. And this is how God works, because I think so often we think it's coincidences, and it's God. It's not coincidences. But they picked out a child. And when we started going to Guatemala, we realized that this child lived in Guatemala. So they were able to bring her to meet us. And she had grown up. She was, a preteen. A couple years later, we actually adopted her village. And we were able to be a part of her life from the age of 6 or 7 until she was about 12 when she got married and started having babies. And that's when, she gets out of the system. But we were able to see her and grow with her. And Gentry was able to see what a difference sponsorship does. And Doug and I are starting to go through some things. And so we're looking at our budget and we're trying to figure out how can we cut. And he said to me one day, he said, well, should we cut our child sponsorships? And I'm about threw something at him. I'm like, no, that is the only thing that we do long term, aside from what we give our church. That is the only thing that is eternal. And Doug and I don't make a lot of money. We're not going to make a massive impact anywhere else, but we will on those sponsor children. And, that's a bigger commitment. But for us, our budget includes that automatically. We know that that is a way that we want to give back. And so we don't go out to eat, and we don't, there's things that we don't do as a family because we have 5 sponsored children. But, again, the amount doesn't matter. It's the heart behind the amount. And God can use, he has allowed Village to Village to thrive for close to 11 years. And I honestly have no idea how, because there have been years that we have gone through and I'm like, I don't know how we're going to make it, and he always comes through. And we don't have to have a huge budget. The things that we have learned to live on little. So, our camps, we've learned that people love to buy stuff off Amazon, and we've learned how to do ministry very low. But we still have to have funding to do it.
Yeah, he said it's the heart behind what you give. And I think the amount of faith, because when you think of the child that gave the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he had the faith that it was going to work out, or I guess he didn't even know that it could feed the 5,000, but that goes a long way. Yeah. Like, so often we think we have to do so much. And personally, I feel convicted because, like, I do the 10%. I give it to my church. But that's like bare minimum, though, And I think a lot of people don't even do that. And I'm not saying I feel better than you. No, but it feels good. Like, oh, cool. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Like you're checking a box.
Right. It feels like I'm just checking a box. And there's even times where, like, things get tight financially. But it's like, I'm like,
Like, do I have to give this?
maybe this week. Yeah, I don't know.
I got to push it off a little bit.
Yeah, I did that recently one time. And then the next hour, I resubscribed. I'm like, I can't do that. Honestly, I had an opportunity come up to, and I was like, really, I'm about to stop giving, and then what? And then I'm gonna get blessed, and then I'm gonna start again. Like that feels so wrong.
Yeah.
I read a lot of Mark Batterson's books. He's my favorite author. And he and his wife's goal is to give 90% and live off 10%. And he's a pastor in DC of a massive church. And I don't know what percentage they are at now, but he said every year when they up that percentage of their giving, he said, we still survive. We have more than enough. And I'm not saying that's my goal, but we are intentional about if we get extra funds in or we get a raise or what part of that raise is going to go to help somebody. Yes, we need it to help our own family, but what part of that is going to go to make a difference in somebody's life?
Yeah. Now, if people want to make a difference and get involved in Village to Village, what's the best way for them to do that right now?
Why are you pointing to me?
Because it's your turn.
I mean, there's so many ways that people could get involved. They can volunteer,
Financially, I mean.
financially. Our website,
Which is
hopeforvillages.org. And yeah, I mean, we really just have like one funding place. Right now, we don't have any like sponsor kids that they could sponsor, but
we do have our largest fundraiser is coming up next Wednesday, which
Yeah.
is Great Community Give.
And wait, how many fundraisers do you guys do a year?
well, this year we have about one a month. So we sat down at the beginning of the year because things have changed with like the business side. And so we're like, okay, how are we going to get money in? Because when we first started, we used to do like one big dinner and that would be like our big fundraiser. And then like we just did like little things. But we've had to change a lot this year. So we sat down in January and we're like, we are putting something on the calendar every month, like a small fundraiser. Like we did last month, we did a cake decorating class. We have a Mother's Day brunch in May. We have like a back to school bash. We have a pumpkin succulent thing going on in October, like everything.
Yeah.
Great Community Give is our biggest one though. Like we pray, over that fundraiser because that's our biggest one and that really funds most of our year. So,
Tell me about Great Community Give. What is it? Who runs it?
you can tell. She knows more about that.
So the Community Foundation in Harrisonburg is who oversees Great Community Give. And it happens all over the United States. This is what ours is called. It's called Great Community Give, and it is specifically for nonprofits. And it's one day of online giving. Just that is what they focus on. It's not like events, it's not dinners, it's not anything other than online giving. And so it happens from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the 22nd, next Wednesday. And basically, your nonprofit has a page that people can go to. And so it's our chance to get out there in the community. And they can see everything that we do. They can see, we ask all of our board members and all of our staff to have peer-to-peer pages, which helps get that out to other people. Because it is online, we want to get it to as many people as we can. So instead of just village to village trying to get it all out there, Alina's going to get it out to the people she knows. Gentry's going to get it out to the people she knows. I have a page. We all have a page that we kind of talk a little more personally about why Village to Village is something that we are passionate about. And we get money. You can get money from all over the country. Because, my family doesn't live local. All of my family lives elsewhere. So it's an opportunity to just share on Instagram, on Facebook, on all the social media platforms. And all the giving goes to the Community Foundation. So you get tax receipts from them. And they, in turn, write you a check a week after. But they also have some fun competitions that they do. So they have power hours. So Village to Village will do 4 of them, and we'll go up against another small or medium nonprofit. Like one of ours is we want to get 50 donors. Well, a donor, you have to give $10. So our goal is to get 50 people during 1 hour to give $10. If they do, it unlocks a $1,000 match that we've already been given. But if we get the most for that hour out of all the nonprofits, we also get grant money from that nonprofit. So they include some fun things during the day, and you can kind of see who you're competing against. And, people, if they have specific interest, they also have a way for you to find organizations. Like if you like animals, you can click on that and it's going to show you every nonprofit that has to do with anything with animals. If you are interested in refugees, we're going to automatically pop up, and they have anybody that has to do with refugees. So you can be a part of what you have a passion about, but it's also the one day of the year that you can see every nonprofit in Rockingham County, and you can understand what they're about. And a lot of it, Gentry is online all day long. We're just reposting stuff. We're letting people know, hey, we're this close to winning. We need $200 more dollars. Will somebody give $200 more dollars? And it's last year we were in Moldova, so Gentry literally did it alone, which she threatened me not to do that again this
I
year.
was also pregnant, so it was horrible.
But it's a good way to get our name out. It's probably the biggest day locally that we get our name out there. And there's a lot of people in Harrisonburg that have a lot that they're able to give. And so if you can connect to those givers on that day, that's going to be the day that they're going to give. So,
And some people do wait to give until that day because they know that like we have specific power hours and we have goals. And like some of our power hours are like we are looking for this many donors, and then some are we're trying to raise $2,500 in this hour. So some people save like the money that they donate to us until the Great Community Give because it makes a bigger impact.
What's the best way to stay up to date?
So our Instagram is village_2_village. And I'll be posted on there. I post, what our power hours are. And then I have a link in our bio and it goes straight to our Great Community Give page. So on April 22nd, you can go to that page and donate there.
Okay. Do we have a goal for this year?
that's funny that you asked that. We had an initial goal of 20,000. We try to increase our goal every year, and we brought in 15,000 last year, 17,000 the year before, but I think we were out of the country and there was just a lot going on. Because of some different circumstances this year, I think we are moving it to 30,000. We really need to get a cushion this year. I'm going to be off for a little while, and so Gentry is not the person that does all the funding, although she's, I'm generally the one that takes care of all of that. So we're trying to just get a cushion in there so that we can get through the next couple months. So we've raised it to 30,000 this year. We'll explain the reason that we're needing that money, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Right now. So
about 3 weeks ago, I realized there were some things going on, and last week, we found out that I have breast cancer, and it's not a good kind. And we don't have fear, and God has really given us peace about it. And Village to Village is one of the most important parts of my life, and so that is why we are trying to get 30,000 raised, so that when I'm off, that Gentry will not have to feel the pressure of how are we going to do this? How are we going to continue ministry? But I think what I want people to know through it all, we're already putting things in place
that Village to Village will not skip a beat while I am off. Um, we will still collect items. We will still be getting them in the hands of the families locally that need them. We have our camp coming up, and nothing is changing with our camp. Um, and to be honest, I feel like God is going to use this. I'm not completely sure how. And I'm a little angry. I don't really want to go through it, you know. So, but I do believe that there's purpose in it. And so, you know, we will be sharing more as we move forward in treatment and the things that are going to happen because Village to Village community is my community. They're my family. And so we feel like we definitely want that family to understand what's going on. And they pray for us so well. And we're going to need that in the next couple months. So, um, just pray about how you can be a part of the Great Community Give. It really will allow us to, um, it'll allow me probably to heal and just take time so that I don't feel stressed and pressured to get back to work and, you know, back to doing things, but also pray for our staff. We do have a part-time girl that will be doing what I normally do in town. And, you know, Gentry is a huge part of Village to Village, but she's also my daughter. So, you know, there's going to be some days that are not so easy. But yeah, we're just trusting God in it and praying for a miracle.
Is there another way that someone can support you on a personal level?
I'm not sure I know yet. I think Alina's already been to my house and you know, has supplied us with so many things and wisdom and I think in my heart, if Village to Village can continue well, that will probably bring more peace to me than anything else. Um, because I have such a passion for what we do, and I don't want that to fall by the wayside just because I may not be able to do what needs to be done. And so I think for me, that's going to bring me the most peace that things are going to continue. Um, we do have a really good, solid community, our church, and just people that have been through this, and my family. So I feel like we already are surrounded by so many people that are going to get us through our days. But Village to Village is my heartbeat, and so I don't want that to falter in the
Mhm.
midst of it.
Gentry, are you worried about the future of Village to Village?
No, I don't think so. I think that God has got us so far I mean, I think it's probably every year my mom is like, I don't know how we're going to do it. And God has gotten us through it. And I think he's really in this ministry. I think that there's a reason that we're still doing what we're doing. I think that, you know, the devil has attacked our ministry many, many times. And I think this is just an attack. Um, I think we're gonna be okay. I think we're gonna continue what we're doing, um, and just not let him win.
What's been the most difficult thing ever since you found out?
I think every time we go to the doctor, they say something worse. And I'm like, "Okay, when is it gonna, like, stop?" Like, um, yeah, it just seems to get worse and worse. And so, I have some testing next week, and I'm just praying for better results. But I know that God is still God, and regardless of what the testing comes out to be, He is still God, and He can heal, He can take it away, He can have me go through the whole process and draw people to Him, and what's the worst thing that could happen is I can be at heaven with Him. So, I would like to stay here with my family, but I'm okay if that's not the answer because I believe
so much that God has our best. He has our best. That's what he wants for us. And um, it's hard to argue with the one that created us and died for us. And, how dare me be selfish and say, I don't want to die when he died for me. So I don't know that I have fear about any of the processes. I would just love to see my granddaughter grow up. You know.
What do you think your unshakable faith comes from?
Honestly, it's probably come through all the trials. I haven't been the healthiest person in the world. So there's been a lot of surgeries and a lot of unknowns. And um, my dad, he passed away, and we had to help him and watch that process. And my mom had Alzheimer's and lived with us, and we had to watch that process. And I have a sister-in-law that was like my sister that I adored, and she loved Jesus more than any person I know. But she was paralyzed when her boys were 7 and 8. And so for 25 years, Kathy lived in a wheelchair and praised Jesus every day. And um, she passed away a couple years ago, but um, I will never suffer like she suffered. And she had the joy of Christ every day. And so I think I just, I don't have a right to be angry when so many other people have gone through so much worse.
Where do you think that anger is directed?
I think I'm just exhausted. Village to Village has had a really hard year, really hard year. And um, I just, I feel like I can't get a break. It's like, we get over something, and then literally the next month something else happens. And we get over that, and then something else happens. I will say, even though this has been the hardest year for Village to Village, I have probably been able to talk to people, specifically, about Jesus better than I've ever been able to in my whole life. And I think, and they have looked at me and they have said to me, "Why do you trust him? When you're going through this, why do you trust him?" And I think those are the moments as Christians that we better be prepared for, because if we're not prepared for the hard times, we're not going to handle them well, and people are going to see that. And so I don't know if those two people will ever come to know God, but they definitely know why I serve God. And so I think even in the hard moments, that is the time that God allows us to shine, and we better not miss those opportunities.
So you had touched on Moldova and first initially going with Christina. Could you touch more on that and kind of explain your ministry there? I know that you love Moldova with all your heart.
Sure. We started going there, and we have actually adopted a village in Moldova called Carbuna, and it is a small village. They don't have running water. It is exactly what you would imagine. And we're able to do our camp there. So we do camp there with about 75 kids. Their school is right there. And, they run home for lunch and come back. And, it's an opportunity for us to invest in these kids. And again, we've been able to watch them grow. So some of these kids were 5 years old when we started camp, and now they're 9-year-olds, and they come every year. And so that is a huge part of what we do. Another part is there's a family. Trafficking is one of the largest issues in Moldova. New Creation has actually gone there and worked with their women before. But when kids are in the villages, once they hit 8th grade, if they don't get out of that village, they're very likely to turn into alcoholics or turn to trafficking. And so there's a family that we work with that brings kids to their home, and generally they can have anywhere from 10 to 25 kids at a time. And it's a young couple with 2 boys. And they bring them in
And these kids learn the bus routes. They learn how to budget their money. They learn how to fix meals. They get part-time jobs, but they also go to school and they learn a trade. So it's not college, but it's a trade school. They also learn English. So when you've gone to a trade school in Moldova, you're going to get a job when you get out of school. So what happens with these kids, once they get a job, they're able to support their families in the villages. The issue is they can't do that on their own. Most of the kids that live in the village, there's no way they could move into Chisinau and find an apartment and do all the things that they need to do to survive. So the family that we work with literally has 10 to 12 girls that live under their own roof. And then sometimes they'll have an apartment that some of the boys live in. They all have mentors. They all they have a family meal once a week, so they all are under the same roof once a week. And these kids are thriving. And without that opportunity and without that family, a lot of these kids would be trafficked or in their villages not able to move forward. And so part of village to village funding is to help this family to make sure that their needs are met. Occasionally, some of the kids will have to have surgery, and right now they're dealing with some issues of mold in their bathroom. So it may be that we have to help them redo that. It's just things that are things they need that they can't do on their own. And it's not because they're not working, because mom and dad both work full time, all the kids work. But, when you have 20 kids, you're going to need some help occasionally. And these kids also help us with camp. So we're not just helping them, we are helping them learn how to minister to other kids. And so they'll go to camp and they'll be with us during camp. It has been just such a blessing to be able to get to know the kids and the mom and dad and to watch how they just invest. I mean, this mom and dad, I'm an introvert. There's no way I would have 12 girls living in my house at one time. And every time we go, Christine and I are both like, we just need to pray harder for her because, she still has to do all the normal stuff, but then she's got 20 kids to invest in.
Life doesn't
So,
stop.
Yeah.
I love how specific all your examples are and how personal it is. Like there's a family that is doing this thing on the ground. It's very grounded. When we were meeting earlier, you told me a story about a girl who went through one of these or through this family specifically, right?
Yes.
Could you
Yeah.
tell me that again?
She is so talented. And when she was either 15 or 16, she won the equivalent to America's Got Talent. But she was underage. So her parents were the overseers of the prize money. She also, she got contracts to be able to, she had everything. They had an apartment for her. They were able to get her all the sound equipment and just the most fabulous voice you could ever imagine. And somewhere in that process, after she won that, she came to know Jesus. And that was not an okay thing for her family. And so she basically was put out on the street without anything. And so the family that we work with somehow connected with her. And she, I think she's in an apartment now, but they allowed her to have a safe space to kind of figure out what she wanted to do from there. And, it's not, they really do help guide the kids and pray for them and help them figure out where are you going to thrive? What are you going to do? And so even though she lost everything, she loves the Lord and she is thriving now just in a different way. So,
Do you think there's any chance I can talk to her?
I could probably make that happen.
I would love to talk to her
Yeah.
and get her testimony.
Yeah, she is amazing. And I'll try to find a clip and send it to you of her voice.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just, and she speaks English. So when we go, she does a lot of translation for us. So
It's beautiful.
What made you fall in love with Moldova specifically?
Okay, so when you're just walking down the street in Moldova, it's a little scary. they're not like in Guatemala, everybody hugs you and everybody loves on you. When you're in Moldova, it's probably a little more like Russia, and they'll just knock you down as soon as, that
Just cold
it's just
stares.
very. But when you start getting into the villages and you start meeting the grandmas and you start hearing stories, um, they have so much love for God and the things that they have been through, and yet they don't have anything negative to say. And the family lives in Kishinev, and so they are amazing. And you go to church, and you kind of get a sense of what that is. And so you really have to be intentional to be in those areas or in the villages, because if you just go to take a walk through Moldova, your Gentry was just terrified. She's like, "What are we doing?" Like, so it's definitely a different feel. But I think when you get connected, and I think that's true for any place.
Right.
I think anywhere you're able to make a connection, that's where you're going to thrive, and that's where you're going to make a difference in people's lives.
Mhm.
And I love the food there. I love walking through downtown.
Mhm.
It's just become a part of who I am.
Mhm.
So that's generally where Christine and I go to breathe and to kind of reset for the next year.
Mhm.
And our trips are generally in April. And there was so many things that got, because we get airline tickets way before April,
Mhm.
but there were roadblocks all the way. And now we kind of realize that because of the cancer, we would not have been able to go anyway. So
Right.
Mhm.
yeah. So, but Christina has promised me that if everything is well in the fall, we will try to make our trip. So
When everything is well in the fall.
What do you think God is trying to tell you through this?
either I'm super hard headed.
I know what he's trying to tell her. He's trying to tell her to slow down. She 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 is a go-getter, and she would take the shirt off of her back. She'd take the skin off of her for somebody else. And it's been killing her. And I mean, she got diagnosed with Lyme disease last year. And she's kind of managed that, but I think God's telling her to slow down a little bit, and I think like she doesn't want to, because she wants to do as much as she can do. But I think I think God's saying, she can still do stuff. She can still make a difference, slowing down and showing, the love of God to others. But I think God's telling her it's time. It's time to slow down, not to give it up, but to slow it down. And that's why we're kind of like redirecting it, and figuring it out. And I think that it's been a huge, that's why we had to shut down Bargain Hive. That's why we moved offices. And it was very hard for Heidi to understand. And she felt kind of like a failure. And, but it was like, you look back on it now, and like God was laying the path, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. He does. And what we found out last week, now we can tie it all together. And he was helping us. He was closing doors so that we didn't have to go through this difficult time with all of this responsibility on our backs, having a business. And it was hard, but it would have been harder if we still had that business and we got this cancer diagnosis. We would have felt really helpless. We are in a safe place right now. Um, like, we're comfortable where we are right now. And I think it's this year we're just gonna slow down, get back to the basics, and you know, look at it again next year and figure out what next year brings. So
I feel like you'll still be able to do God's work, but it'll just look differently. And maybe that's a blessing. Maybe you'll be able to delegate, and this
I'm not good
organization.
at that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna ask, what's been the hardest thing about slowing down for you, or why do you not want to slow down so much?
I think I know myself well enough, and I know what I can get done. And working with people, whenever you work with people, it always gets messy. Not intentionally, but people may not do it the way you need it done, or sometimes you have to go back and redo something that somebody else had done. So it's messy, and I'm an introvert, so I would just rather do it myself. And we have people that are willing to volunteer. We have an amazing board, and I've never been good. The last 10 years, I have never been good at delegating ever. And so I do think that God wants to give some of those opportunities to other people that I probably take just because I can get it done quicker. And, you know, I have to be okay with letting go of some things and knowing that it may not get done the way I want it done, but it'll get done and ministry will still happen. And, I had a pastor one time that he would always tell us, I don't want to pastor so that when I leave, the church falls apart. I want to pastor so that when I leave, all of you all are in place to carry on and do ministry without me. And that is probably not where Village to Village is right now. Like, if I am gone, Village to Village would probably cease to exist. And, I think if I want it to be something long lasting, I've got to figure out, how do I just let other people step in and really be a part of it?
One of my favorite Bible verses is just to be still and know that I am God. And there's just this sacredness about just being still and just letting God show himself through that. Yeah, it's just an honor that God has placed me on the board in the last 2-3 weeks, and just know that we'll be all praying, supporting you personally and the ministry as well. So we're always here for you.
I don't think it's a coincidence that you got involved so recently.
Mm-mm.
I really don't. I think we have all these plans and ideas of like, I'm a pretty ambitious person personally. I want to accomplish a lot. I feel like I relate to you. Like, I know how much I can do. And it's hard for me to stop. It's like I have these grandiose plans, but God's plans are so much bigger than anything we can imagine. And you never know. It could just be a conversation with someone. I could be doing all this work thinking I'm going to impact so many people, do all these things, but it could just be a conversation over coffee with someone one day that might have the biggest impact of my life. And you just never know, but God does. And I think it's being still. It's kind of a way of just letting God move.
And I have had, once we realized Bargain Hive was going to close.
Can you tell me a little bit about that or give some context to that?
So, because I do not like fundraising, we really had prayed about, could we open a business that could fund Village to Village so that we don't have to do the fundraising? Would that be a possibility? And so we prayed about multiple different things over the years. And Bargain Hive Gentry and I loved Bargain Hive. We loved the family that owned it. And so when it came up for sale, we talked to them. We circled that building. I don't even know how many times in prayer. We fasted, and God opened the doors for us to start that business. But for me, it was like working 2 full-time jobs. It was constant, Bargain Hive or Village to Village. I very seldom got to cook a meal at home. I was working every weekend. And when we realized, Gentry actually had a friend that we just went and had a conversation with him one night because we had the opportunity to purchase the space. The space came up for sale, and we're like, well, do we buy it? And that would be Village to Village's spot. What do we do? And we went and talked to him, and I had just been in turmoil. I was having panic attacks, could not figure out what to do, could not find peace. And within 10 minutes, he said, you need to let Bargain Hive go. And that had been the most peace that I had had in months. But what came after that was the hard stuff, like telling everybody, okay, we are shutting down, having to go back and figure out the finances and like, how do we get stuff paid off? How do we, and it has been one of the worst things in my life. I have not been able to get a grip. And the odd thing is the cancer, I have not felt that at all. I don't like it. I'm nervous about it, but I don't have that feeling of fear. I really do have peace about it. And I think that can only come from a God that loves us. And, I don't like that we have had to go through all that, but everything we go through teaches us lessons. And we learned a lot through that, but some things we don't want to talk about what we learned, but we know that we want Village to Village to be the center of all that we do. And so as hard as fundraising is, I don't want to go back to having something that is splitting my time. And if we are concentrating on Village to Village, that is where my heart is. My heart is not in a business. It is not running a business. It is not having staff. It is helping people. And so I think God has just got us back to, I don't know why we went through that. I would still say God opened those doors. I have no idea why, other than the two people that I talked to that maybe will come to know Christ, through that experience.
Yeah.
So
I think it's extremely important to be focused, to not split your time. Because when you split your time and your effort, it's like chasing two birds, you're not going to catch either one. Yeah. I really think that, number one, I think what we're doing in general with social media is so powerful. I think it has the ability to reach millions of people potentially. Like anything can go viral at any moment, and it can reach so many people, and it can make such a big impact. So the fact that we're just doing this and recording it and putting it out in there for the world to see, I think it's important. I think a lot of people can be touched and moved by this, and there's a lot of lessons that they can learn. But the timing here with you stepping away, I really think like so many people are bad at delegating and they think they're going to do everything the best, and there's so many more people that can do things. Like I said, part of God's plan. Like God designed people with specific talents and gifts, and the best thing you can do is let them do their thing and let God do his thing. Maybe this can be a moment where you take your hands off, but it really takes off more than you ever imagined.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have a choice. So, I mean, I think I just, I want to, I want to do what my body needs, not what my mind thinks I need to be doing. And so I think I'm just going to have to be more intentional about quiet time with God and, just trying to focus more on, my focus for the last 11 years has been nothing but Village to Village. And so, not that that's bad, but I do think I need to just get quiet with him and try to rest in it.
Hmm. You've spoken a lot about intentionality, the way you've lived your life, the way that you've built this whole thing. How do you do that? How do you be intentional?
I think I probably saw my mom. My mom was very intentional. She was on her knees every morning and every night. So when we would wake up in the morning, she was on her knees in her bedroom. When we would go to bed at night, she was on her knees in her bedroom. And I think her mom was the same. And one of the biggest things that I've always wanted is to have just a little bit of my mom and grandma in me, and to be able to say, I did it well, and I spent time with God, and I prayed over my children, and when my kids were little, one of my biggest fears was that they would not know Christ. And so, as horrible as this sounds, I I would get such a fear of them going to school or going somewhere and getting hurt, and it was like I did not want to let go of them. And I used to have to pray, Jesus, I want you to take my children now if they are not going to end up with you in eternity. And what that did for me is it released them. And so I have books that if you all would look at them, you would think they were so gross because they're so old. But I pray for my kids every single day. I pray for my husband every single day, and it's very intentional. It's with scripture, and and I can't let those days go by because I feel it's that important that they are being prayed over. And somewhere, and I can't remember where I read it, um, but somewhere I read that the prayers of your grandparents and your parents continued to circle even when they're gone. And so, if that's the case, I just want to flood my family with as many prayers as I can pray for generations that I may never even know. But to do all that, you have to be intentional. I can't have devotions at night. I know that about myself. I can't pray at night because I'm going to fall asleep. Like, I know the time of day that I need to do the things I need to do. And if I let that time pass, it's not going to happen, you know? And so, um, I think it was really just from watching my mom. And, um, I think Gentry would say too, she was probably one of the most godly women I have ever known in my life. And she was a pastor's wife, which is not always easy. Never had a harsh thing to say about anybody. Um, but I think it just came from watching her.
Gentry, what are you most proud of about your mother?
Oh my gosh, everything. I always said, like, if I'm half the woman she is, I'll be great because she's amazing. I mean, even sitting here listening, I'm like, and she hates doing this stuff, but she's so good at just like explaining her heart, you know? She just has a heart for people. And I sit here and I'm like, oh my, did I come from you? Like, I feel like I'm such a selfish person. Um, and I'm in the thick of it with 3 young kids, and, you know, I'm always like, "I'm gonna get out of," like, once they're older, like, I will be better with my devotions and stuff, and just, like, I just feel like she challenges me to, like, be a better wife and to pray more, and even when, like, things get so hard, you know, she's like, I know my mom's gonna pray about it. If I call her about anything, she'll be on it, you know? Um, but I don't know, I'm just so proud of her for just everything. Like, half the stuff that she does, I'm like, "You are crazy. I would never do that." But, like, I mean, she yeah, she has a special place in heaven for her because she's amazing. She really is. Um, and I hope to be half the woman that she is.
But one thing that you want to be remembered for, what would it be?
I think I just want to represent Christ well in in everything. And I think my family probably tends to see reactions that are not always maybe the best, but I really want, you know, we've had some hard things happen to us, even through Village to Village and online things and things that just people want to have a reason to say bad things about you. And so, you know, I always want to have that positive response and be like, not that it's going to roll off my back, but what I want people to see is there is something different about her and Jesus is what it is. Because I feel like if I am not representing Christ well, then I don't need to be doing what I'm doing at all.
If you want to get involved, we're going to have the link to the Instagram, the community gift page, and any other links in the bottom of the show notes. Heidi, thank you so much for coming on. Gentry, Alina, thank you for being a part of Village to Village. Thank you for all the work that you do with refugees. And I'm going to do a couple of things to see what I can do to help you guys raise the money.
This year for the Great Community Give, our original ask was $20,000 and we have upped that to $30,000. I was diagnosed with cancer last week and we feel like we need to have a cushion as I'll have to step back a little bit for a couple months, and we do not want ministry to stop. We have camps coming up and things that we are so excited about, And so we would just ask that you pray about giving a little more to the Great Community Give this year as we just push through this season.